In this video, I want to talk to you about how you could deploy your containers on Google Cloud. Right now, there is a couple of options you can do, and it all depends on like how much work you want to put in versus how much time you actually have. So I think maybe a common example is like you want to just deploy something for your own, and you're only one person, and you want to spend the least amount of time doing it. This is where I really want to recommend using Google Cloud Functions. Google Cloud Functions is a really easy solution if you're just one person or a couple persons, and you just have to focus on getting something out there really quick and not spending any time on monitoring deployment. It's just like the simplest from 0 to 100 is like really Google Cloud Functions. And also Google Cloud Functions coming up right now has some really interesting, they're going to deploy where you can take a custom runtime. So if, for example, you would be able to deploy any application on Google Cloud Function. Also, it has a really good integration with Stackdriver. All the logs get to Stackdriver. You can see like it automatically restarts and so forth. So it's a really good solution. Then the next, obviously, like the most popular solution is like Kubernetes, and with Google Cloud Container Engine. That's maybe not the right approach if you're just getting into containers, because like managing Kubernetes is like a nightmare if you like there's so many new concepts. So what I would actually recommend is like going with compute engines, still just normal compute engines. Compute instances, but then choosing the option. Now Google has made it so easy to actually say run with containers. So you can, when you create an instance, you can specify to spin up and only run one container per instance. This is a really cool option because it eliminates all the management of like Kubernetes. It keeps it super simple, and you can use all the cloud specific stuff. This is a really good way, like if you were just getting started, like you shouldn't, with all these options, you should never ever create an instance yourself anymore. You should basically always use either like the cloud function or this now Google Compute with container support or Kubernetes. But this is super interesting because it basically allows you to specify a container image that will be pulled, and all the nitty gritty of setup, like if the container stopped, then it will restart and so forth. And then I would suggest this for a solution if you are a couple people, and if you maybe have some more requirements that you cannot fit into Google Cloud Functions, or if, for example, have longer running jobs. I still think you could fit it into Google Cloud Functions, but if you need it, this is the way to go. Then if you are a couple more people and you know how to have you tested a little bit around with Kubernetes and you tried out new stuff, you should really try Google Kubernetes Engine. I actually made a video about it, and it is manageable. It's just like you need some extra capacity to think about Kubernetes. And Kubernetes is an awesome tool, but it is something that gives you all the flexibility in the world with some super awesome defaults that are made by some of the smartest people in the world. But it also requires you to know a lot and actually maintain it. The cool thing about Google Container Engine, Kubernetes Engine, is that they does a lot of the maintenance before you. And if you had to make a cluster before, like you would be spending most of the time just maintaining it. Google Kubernetes Engine actually provide so much of the maintainability just out of the box. So you basically still don't have to spend any time maintaining manually and upgrading. But you still have to know like what you're doing and like what happens when it logs, and like how do you actually debug, because comparing to Google Container Compute Engine, where you're basically just running one container per instance, you will be running multiple containers per instance, and that's of course more efficient, but also takes in more consideration, because like what if one container uses all the resources, what is supposed to happen? You have to define the defaults for each application and so forth. So that's basically what my opinion is. Like if you're one person or two person, like a small team, use Google Cloud Functions. If you're just getting started with containers or a few people but really want to like use the customizability, use like Compute Engine with a container. Don't use App Engine. It's still a weird product. use App Engine if you know it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's very specific to Google Cloud, but Compute Engine with containers. And if you then have know a little bit about Kubernetes, or are a bigger team that actually have dedicated resources, use Kubernetes. It's really awesome. So that's really I would recommend these 3 options depending on who you are. So, but thank you for listening, and see you around.